Hi everyone, so when the patch notes for Season 28 first came out a few weeks back, I made that video pretty early talking about if you want to sacrifice the challenge with cash or use it at the season start. Because this is one of those steps here in unlocking the entire altar at step 15, as you can see here. So originally I said that you will definitely sacrifice the challenge with cash almost no matter what. And depending on what you're trying to do, I guess that actually still holds true. But it also seems like there are a lot of people that just enjoy the quality of life more than anything. And it just gives you a better start. You speed up the leveling process. It makes everything easier and smoother. And not everyone is like a try-hard, like sweaty blaster like me. And I can also understand that. Now, the thing is that we have actually learned even more things about the leveling process that actually brings leveling with cash and no cash closer together. I've already made my leveling guides for both strategies, and I still expect that a lot more people will open the cash instead of saving it. But I also want to highlight that again, that compared to a regular season where we don't get any of these altar bonuses with a double kill streak and a no item level requirement, we are actually a lot closer this time. So in a regular season, the record times for 1 to 70 with cash are something like an hour, 1.5 hours. And without cash, there is like a huge gap. There's like at least plus 1.5 hours or something like that. And then you can expect to reach 70 in like 3 hours or something if you don't use the cash. So that is obviously a very slow time. And in Season 28, you get those double kill streaks, you get those no level requirements for items, and you can actually use that node even when you don't open the challenge with cash. So that you still reach level 70 in like an hour or something if you're relatively fast. And it's actually not that far behind opening the cash, which will probably take at least half an hour for most people, or probably more anyway. So the time save here is something like 30 minutes. Now, obviously, this assumes that you know what you're doing. And as I mentioned, I do have those leveling guides. They're both linked in the description, so you can go check those out. Number 2 to consider here is how much you're actually playing until the second challenge with cash comes online. And that also depends on which region you are in. So there is the big difference here between NA and EU, which are probably most of the people watching this video. NA actually only has 68 hours from season start to the second challenge with cash, because they start a season later than EU and they get the challenge rift earlier than EU. So NA has it on like a Monday evening or Monday afternoon, I believe. And for EU, they get it on Tuesday morning. So for NA, it's only 68 hours, and for EU, it's actually 83 hours. That's 15 hours more from the season start to the second challenge with cash. Since there's almost like 1 full day less waiting time for NA, it definitely makes a lot more sense for NA players to use the cash and for EU players to save it, so that you don't get stuck at step 15 in the altar. It will depend on how much you play and also how efficiently you play. So if you are someone who is kind of casual, just like slacking, chilling in town, and maybe not even playing one of the top meta builds and these kind of things, if you're like a bit slower in general, then yeah, using challenge with cash definitely makes more sense as well. But if you're someone who's experienced, who just wants to rush to the end game with one of the top meta builds, I think that the cutoff where saving the challenge rift gets better than using it is at around 15 hours playtime in those first days until the second challenge rift. If you play more than that, you absolutely want to save the cash, because else you get stuck here at 15, and yeah, you have to wait like multiple days to unlock a lot of these relatively powerful nodes later on. And as I said, depending on your efficiency, that number might be higher than 15 hours. Now, there is another thing to consider here, and that is that you can actually profit from most of the advantages of opening the cache without actually opening the cache. So this is something I've already highlighted in one of my leveling guides. People are actually trading their challenge with caches. So what they do is, for example, use a second account or a friend's account who's inactive, or you team up with someone from another region. So for example, EU and NA players, and they help each other out by opening a challenge with cash on their other region and crafting level 70 items for another person and then getting the same favor in return. So this way you can level to 70 in almost exactly the same time that someone can with opening the challenge with cash, but you still save it. In that case, the calculation definitely becomes a lot closer. So if you're someone who is doing this challenge with cash trade, then I think the cutoff is way less than those 15 hours I just mentioned. And you're probably more looking at, like even 10 hours or less, because you can definitely unlock a lot of these things even without grinding the stuff of herding, even without getting those primals for the potion powers in not really a lot of time. Most of these objectives here are something you just kind of do on the way, or you go a little bit out of your way, for example, to get that ancient hellfire. And it's nothing really like a big deal anywhere here, besides the stuff of herding close to the end. And there are definitely quite some nodes that you can only unlock later, after step 15, because you want to take certain things first, like the double bounties, like unlocking all the potion things, like the pools here. So those are all those nodes that you want to pick up early. But if you look at those nodes that I pick up here on the right, all those steps after 15, there's a lot of extra damage reduction, which definitely helps you out, especially if you're starting the season when you're weak and you don't have much stats and generally like not optimized builds. There's a lot of extra damage, elite damage, for example, then the multiplicative 20% damage. So those two things alone already make you like over 2 tiers better in just raw damage output. There's the flat damage, that's another half tier. There's the dodge, and then there's a lot of the quality of life things that you pick up towards the end. So even if you save all these quality of life effects for last, there are still a lot of stats that you're missing out on. And especially if you have any aspirations to, get to a high GR early in the season, in the first weekend when you're playing a lot, you want to be a bit competitive or something like that, you will be noticeably weaker than someone who has the altar unlocked. The only real bottleneck in this entire altar tree are actually those 6 primals that you have to sacrifice for the potion powers. However, the third one you pick up is kind of irrelevant, so it only really matters to get the double primals at the end and the wings if you want those. The first power you pick up are definitely the shrines and the power pylon. The second one will be the triune circles, and getting 3 primal drops is not really such a great deal. So this is usually the one from GR70 if it's terrible, which it usually is. Then you have 1 already, you get the first potion power very soon, and then you just need 2 more primals. And I know a lot of people always ask like, how do you get primals fast and these kind of things. I will have another like little video dedicated to that to give you some tips on how to get those primals. And it should not really take all that long. If you have one of the top speed builds, for example, God Demon Hunter, which is going to be very popular, I imagine, or something like Unhurled Essence Demon Hunter or POJ Monk or these kind of things, you can definitely get in the range of around 1 primal per hour. So it's just going to be a bit of blasting and you have those primals unlocked. So to sum up all these points that I just mentioned, sacrifice cash versus using cash. It depends on how much you play and how efficiently you play in the first days until the second challenge rift comes. So for NA, this is 68 hours. It's a lot shorter than in EU, which is 83 hours. So there's almost another full day that you have to wait. So it does make more sense for NA players to use the cash instead of saving it. Number 2 is the cutoff for efficient players is somewhere around 15 hours. If you play more than 15 hours in those first few days, then you should definitely save the cash, because the leveling speed difference is somewhere in the range of like half an hour, plus minus a little bit, and it's not actually slowing you down all that much not having the challenge rift cash available in Season 28 because of this double kill streak and a no item level requirement. Of course, if you are less experienced, if you are like slacking and stuff like that, you have to apply your own like multiplier to those 15 hours, depending on like how much slow you generally feel you are. So if you're a more casual player, then this number is higher. Number 3, if you're willing to engage in this challenge rift trade cash, or you have a second account or something like that, this number of hours is actually significantly lower. And there's actually almost no point to use your own challenge rift cash if you have items crafted from someone else or another account. So in that case, you should absolutely save the cash. And number 4, in case you use the cash, you can still pre-farm most of these other objectives. For example, the Ancient Hellfire, for example, the Staff of Herding, get your Whisper of Atonement ready and all these kind of things. And then as the second challenge rift comes around, you just sacrifice everything in one go, farm a few blood shards, and that's basically it. So you have like everything ready to go when Monday evening or Tuesday morning comes around. So this is also something I've heard many people are planning to do, and that seems like a very reasonable strategy, especially if you do not care about leaderboards. But if you want to be any kind of competitive, you absolutely should save the cash, because else you're going to be significantly weaker than other people. And lastly, number 5, I guess I should mention that. Obviously, if you're starting your season late, there's absolutely zero reason to open your challenge with cash. In that case, you're also going to save it because you're just going to get boosted by someone. So ask a friend or ask in communities, get a boost. You know, if you're like even a few hours late to the season, more often than not, you can find someone who can give you a little boost to 70. And there you go. What you're going to do is ultimately up to you. So I just try to give like the entire picture here of how I see things, and then it comes down to deciding on your own what you're going to do, how try hard you are, or how much you want to chill out on the season start. Hope you enjoyed this video here. Wish you good luck in season 28, and see you guys next time.